Hey guys, what is up? Matt here. Finally have another deck tech video for you. A lot of people have been asking for blue-white Valentina, and as you know, I worked with Brian Jessica, Saito, a few other people on the list, and we put out the picture, didn't have a lot of time for it since, and then I have a special guest, James McCory, with us today, who's actually been piloting the deck, been making a lot of changes for it, so I just felt like he'd be the best person to introduce the deck. So, for our deck tech today on blue-white Valentina, I'm going to be passing over to James.
Alright, hi guys, we're playing this Valentina deck. It's the first deck that I saw when I got into Force of Will. It's pretty easy. We're playing Valentina. Her ability, the blue-blue, Cheetah Water Resonator into play is really good. You don't have to ever play anything on your turn, which is what makes her a little better. She's only proactive, reactive. You don't have to play cards on your turn. The stones, we have the 4 blue-white stones, let us play our signs, our Alice's, then some more cards in the sideboard. Little red goes in every deck, and then the 5 water stones.
Alright, and then let's get a little bit more into the cards themselves.
So, creatures we have for 1-drops, we have a Cheshire Cat. It's really good, played in every deck that can play blue, just source of card advantage, card filtering. Lets us suppress the early aggro decks from just killing us really quickly. We used to play Alice's Little Scout as the other 1-drop, but it died to everything. Everyone was playing bow, and didn't like just getting picked off and not accomplishing anything we were trying to block in combat. Next up, we have Cinderella, Valkyrie of Glass. This originally wasn't on the list, it was Soji, but in testing we figured out Soji wasn't that great against a lot of the decks. Cinderella is just an 8/8, blocks everything through a bow. Doesn't matter what our hand size is, and we can do some cute tricks with like a Shangri-La in play, not having the 5 cards in hand after attacking pick her up, and our opponent just gets 2 for 1 sometimes. Just a really good blocker and attacker in general. After that we have Hanzo. Hanzo's just a 3/3, flying for 2 mana. Really good, just flies over everything we need to. Always good to just draw cards on our opponent's turn for blue-blue off of Valentina. Just something we needed early game, just lets us eat all of our opponent's creatures sometimes. After that we have Squire of the Ocean Lady. She's a new addition to the deck. John Logan came up with the idea of playing her over Little Scout. I like her, just almost half the deck says draw a card on it, and just being able to draw a card is really good. She also doesn't die to bow with a Shangri-La in play, and just is immune to thunder with Shangri-La in play. So, onto our last 2-drop creature, we have something that a lot of people don't play around, 1-inch boy. Just a 1/3 Death Toucher. Being able to eat almost anything. The only problem creature he can't eat is Gareth, but in those matchups you have to rely heavily on signs anyway, or just your bigger creatures. Surprise blocking, like big things like Blazers and like Lancelot's is really nice. Your opponent doesn't just play around the 1/3 with Death Touch and their guy just gets eaten. You also get to combo that with Gleipnir to eat problem creatures. And onto our 3-drops, we have Alice, Guardian of Dimensions. Big wall of text on her, 3 mana 7/7. Flying's really good. Pay a blue, give target Resonator you control Shroud. It's always nice. During your opponent's draw step, I'll typically just shroud up my team that I need to keep alive. The white tap, remove her and another creature from the game, is really good against problem creatures like Gareth's, Lancelot's. Hit a Mephistopheles earlier today, which was really nice. Typically you play her on 4, just so you can play her and have protection up. And then one of the last creatures, Medusa. She's the big beater of the deck. Combo her with Gleipnir and you just get to eat any of your opponent's problem creatures. Just attack them in the face. Typically you play her after Alice so you can protect her and the Alice, and you just get to free roll your opponent after that. Really good on defense too. She never really dies in combat unless she's attacked directly, so it's pretty hard to do that when we have a bunch of creatures on the ground to block. Our last creature was a recent addition. It used to be Swordsman of the Moon, but now we're playing Etna. I was playing a lot versus the Grim deck, and he was playing Etna out of the sideboard. out of the main board. Just being able to tap my team down and just kill me on the spot was really nice. So I figured just having a late game draw that allows me to just close out a game really quickly, because this deck tends to grind out a finish. You go to time a lot with it, so you just have to find something to close the door really quickly, and she closes the door pretty quickly. So non-creatures, we have our 4 Gleipnir, really good with Valentina. Our opponent's guy gets untapped, we get to eat it with either Medusa or like any big creature. Also just cycling to draw a card. Having multiples out is really nice. When we J-activate our Valentina, we get to just draw a bunch of cards, which is what I like to do, draw a bunch of cards. You eventually find the answer you need to win the game.
Quick side note about that card that I really like too is that since we're playing Valentina, it untaps something. So one of my favorite things about playing the deck earlier, when the set first came out, is that I was able to untap Susanova, steal it with the Goddard, and then hit my opponent for 12 with their own Susan and kill them with it. So it's important to note that if the Resonator has swiftness, it's definitely another way that you can sneak in damage that your opponent might not be suspecting by being able to flip and Goddard in the same turn.
Yeah, also another note with that is with the next card, using Gleipnir in combination with your own creatures. If you just throw your little creatures into your opponent's big creature, you get to trim down your own board, so you have like 1 or 2 guys, and then you get just to cast Sign the Future on them. Typically, this is good against like the Knight deck, the Grim decks, the Bonsai Grim decks, like the Elf deck, like anything that's like trying to just press the board with a bunch of creatures. You just say no to 2 of them. Typically, we'll play like that and then flash in our guys during our opponent's end of turn, and we just create a big problem for them. If you don't have the white, you just get to throw it down as a chance, so that's always good. Yeah, the big powerhouse of the deck, though, easily is Shangri-La. Colorless and a blue, when it comes into play, draw a card, and then gives your team +1/+1, and then if you have 5 or more cards, it gets another +1/+1. Since we're never casting anything on our turn, we're always going to have 5 or more cards in hand because we're putting creatures into play during our opponent's end of turn, and just getting free attacks with this is just really good. People don't play around it sometimes, but yeah.
Definitely one of the best rares in this set, it turns out. Card just really overperforms in this deck. So then let's go on to the sideboard and show us what kind of special tech that you might have had.
So in our sideboard we have 4 Alice's Soldier, 2 mana 5/5 with Shroud. Typically bring this in against all the decks that are trying to kill our creatures. It's also just a really good clock against like the Regalia deck, because while they're trying to put a cannon in play really fast, we're just putting in like big beefy guys and just trying to race them and just like make it hard for them to kill us through that. So we have that. We then have 4 Breath of God. We just want our guys to never die, and this is a really good way of doing it. It also replaces itself, so getting to draw a card is always good. Just protect your guy, draw an answer to the next threat, and you're good. After that we have Death Scythe. We needed that for the Regalia deck. This could be Split Heaven and Earth if you really wanted it to, depending on your meta. Split allows you to combat the Regalia decks and like all the decks that are playing a lot of like non-basic stones, because you can just play a tempo strategy versus them and just play your guys. The way we're going to be playing Split Heaven and Earth if we replace the Death Scythes is with Blazer. Just really good versus any deck that relies on their ruler to win, like the Regalia decks. Anything else? Like what else wins with the ruler? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of J-Ruler focused decks out there. I mean, just without Illumia, she wants to bring back stuff from the removed from game zone. I mean, Forceful has made it very clear that they want to have a J-Ruler focused game. That's what Regalia added. So Blazer was definitely the way to keep them in check and make sure that we always have an answer to J-Rulers.
And then our own answer to our opponent's J-Rulers and any activated effect that we don't like is Glimpse of Kaguya. This card blows people out of the water sometimes. They don't expect it. First, it just counters an activated ability, so that's anything like in the mirror. It just counters the cheat a guy into play ability. The big thing that it counters, though, is Goddards. Getting to counter a Goddard and then just they're unable to use it for the rest of the game is always good. Like I did against the Alice deck that gets to, for blue and a green, makes their guys Shroud and draw 3 cards. just tempoing him out of the game with that. Just he didn't get to draw his cards. I ate one of his dudes and I drew a card. It was really nice. It's also good versus like any regalia, like any bow, because bow's a kind of hard card to deal with early on. So just countering a bow activation is always nice.
Yeah, the card definitely does a lot more right now than people are giving it credit for, and I think it's something that that's gonna see even more play as the Alice cluster, you know, as more God Arts are coming out. I definitely think it's a really good counter to those, and especially the new Dark Alice that permanently shrinks your J Ruler and Resonators. If you're able to glimpse a Kaguya that, it's going to feel really, really good.
Yeah, I got to use it versus the, I think it's the Cinderella. It's the sacrifice a Resonator, 400 damage to each Resonator your opponent controls. Part of the cost is sacrificing the Resonator. So just getting to counter that and making them sacrifice a creature was really huge.
Yep. Alright guys, well that's all we got for today. Thanks to James for talking about the deck for a little bit. I know a lot of people have been asking for this deck tech or deck spotlight, as we're going to start calling them going forward. You know, I always like to do the Force the Community segment on Mondays, so if you have a deck that you want to feature, make sure you join us Monday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, or you can send us an email at ggforceofwill@gmail.com. Would really like to get more involvement from the community and highlight some more decks for you guys. You know, we've been highlighting a lot out of Italy and other top 8 events, and that's fine too, but you know, always feel free to drop us an email. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to our channel. We always respond to the comments as soon as we can, and we'd like to hear from you guys. So until next time, until the next deck spotlight, Force the Community, Dark Depths, what have you, this is Matt, joined by James, and we'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.